My name is Sam Yankelevitch. I'm the author of Walking the Invisible Gemba. And today I'm here chatting with Stephen Weller, the author of the Progressive book series. We're going to talk about the Progressive Hospital, which is his latest masterpiece, just about to be released. And just want to share with you a little bit about Stephen. So he was introduced to Lean while working as a manufacturing production leader. And it was not long before he found himself in a Lean leadership position that launched him on a journey that he never imagined. In 2010, Stephen was sought after to consult for a hospital within surgical services where he found his passion within the healthcare space. He was the author of the Progressive series, where his knowledge and experiences are shared in a creative manner that educates and amuses his readers in the most delightful way. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Progressive Hospital, which, by the way, I saw some of your initial takes on the book trailer. Very nice. And the latest trailer as well. That's a very, very nice and artistic trailer. It sends a nice message. So have a couple of questions for you. So this whole topic about Lean, and it's strange for me. You wrote quite a distinctive way of expressing the lean thinking and all that stuff in an area that is, is not the most popular, but is very much needed. Surgical services. And you wrote it as an educational thriller. So let's talk first about the educational portion of it, with focus on the surgical services. And I understand there's a lot of complexities involved. So maybe you can enlighten us about that.
Thinking about surgical services, I think a lot of times we may oversimplify what that involves. When we start looking into what exactly we're trying to do on the day of surgery, it gets really complex. You have many stakeholders. It seems like the solutions are apparent when in fact they aren't. And so when you go in and do a deep dive and understand the different flows that are involved and what everyone is trying to do to coordinate and to find that experience, and what I wanted to do is kind of help accelerate that knowledge so that when we say, hey, let's go and do something to improve surgical services, we can go in there with a better awareness of what exactly is going on.
Is there like a lot of cogs and like silos when you mention the complexity? Is that part of the problem?
They do exist, right. But there are several things that we're trying to bring together, trying to make sure that we have the supplies that we need. We have what the surgeon's background is. So you can have two surgeons do the exact same procedures, but two different ways. And the team has to learn how to support that. Getting the instruments there on time, making sure the patient gets there on time, making sure that the patient is optimized, making sure everything is ready at the end of surgery so that the patient is able to either get home, get to their end destination, or get upstairs to the inpatient unit and that the bed is ready. Did the rooms get cleaned? Did the room upstairs get cleaned? There is a lot of coordination that goes on just for something as simple, I put in quotes, simple as surgery. It is not simple at all.
A lot of things going on at the same time. Very, very interesting. You never think about that, quite honestly. And, and so when I was talking about the type of book, and it says educational thriller. So what about the thriller part? Is there from what I read, there's also kind of a sense of urgency involved in all of this, but why a thriller? Can you elaborate on that?
So the thriller originally came about because I wanted to help explain change and maybe rapid change, and it's just a way to kind of help also entertain the audience, take them on a journey, and make it when they look back say, I just learned a lot, but not feel like it was something where we were trying to lecture. Supposed to be fun for the reader, but when you look back and say, but we also learned this, this, and this. So it's just trying to bring the whole experience together in a fun way.
Nice. You mentioned change just now, and I'm wondering, as we're recording this, the pandemic is still ongoing, and I'm wondering, because for me, change typically comes by choice or by force. And, I think we were forced into change because of this pandemic. Has the leadership driven change or picked up on that to start promoting a little bit of change because of this pandemic in your environment?
I think that is a very great question. And I think we're going to be asking ourselves that question for a very long time, because when I wrote this book, the logic of the pandemic that was in the book did not necessarily accelerate change the way that we would think. The logic just wasn't there.
Okay.
And in the real world, the changes that would be suspected did not happen as well. So it's going to be a very interesting case study. It's going to be probably some things where people are going to be looking at and say, just because there's a national emergency or something like that doesn't necessarily invoke that there's going to be change towards lean healthcare, for example. There will be definitely changes, but not necessarily in the way that some of us think that says, oh, now we're going to have to be more effective.
Okay.
It is, but what I hope what this book does is says, hey, maybe this book can help give us an alignment with similar contexts so that when we do work on what can we change, we have that alignment to say, hey, we have at least some of the similar experiences that we can all share and help create some aligned changes. So I hope it takes us a step in that direction. So
that's good. That's good. Typically you don't pay a whole lot of attention to caregivers until you need them. And now with the pandemic, you see on TV the life that they have or that they don't have, but they're life givers. And I suspect you're surrounded by caregivers day in, day out. Could you expand a little bit? And you address this in your book, and how do you address their lives in your book?
Yes. When you read the book, what I hope people see is an absolute love for caregivers that are in the hospitals. Certainly, this wonderful, devout love for those who've been on the front lines, especially during the COVID pandemic, and what they have done for us. And these are people who have their own families, who have their own worries. Who have young children that they're also looking for a place for their children to be able to go where they're being safe, and meanwhile maintain the livelihood, be there for the patients, have to address and be there with family members who are very frustrated with the circumstances as well. And and all these different changes, the pure endurance and the love for humanity that so many caregivers give. Some people call them heroes. It's far beyond that. These people are making the self-sacrifice and for the good of humanity, for the love of humanity, and so. It explores that a little bit.
That in your environment, the customer is right there, the patient, and these caregivers are right in front, and they get to see the immediate impact of the service, the level of service. So it's it's quite interesting. I'm wondering also, and I think in your book you point out the mentorship portion of it, because I think that kind of segs into the level of service where sometimes these caregivers are provided some mentorship from the higher ups or from people that have been there for some time that can actually help them. I think that's one of the key features in your book, and perhaps you can talk a little bit about that. I think that's a very interesting point.
Well, this is a book one of a 3-book series for the Progressive Hospital, and the initial character that the book is spoken through the eyes of is young, and he's beginning his journey. And with that, he seeks a mentor, a surgical services director, a nurse who has been there and done that many times, and has had this passion for lean and has appropriately and effectively applied this in the surgical space. The mentee chose the mentor, and the mentor chose the mentee. This is something that was not forced upon them. They chose each other. And with that comes this open honesty and this trust that they have, which allows for some very fun discussions, experiences in the surgical space, and then helps to provide both people with perspectives that they may not have normally had.
Right. I appreciate that you included the mentorship piece in your book, Stephen, because it's it's something that many of us don't realize how important it is. I, for sure, am very thankful to the mentors I've had over the years, and it's brought me to where I am. And as you can see from my gray hair, I now have a passion for mentoring and turn that around and help others. Sharing that's a very important piece of the mentoring process. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you coming on to have this conversation. I'm curious, when you're launching the book, how soon will it be coming out? I'd like to, so that we can share that with your potential readers that they can benefit from. And also, before we part, it would be interesting to know how people can reach out to you, how they contact you, whether they find you. That would be fantastic for the listeners to have.
Yes, so the book is expected to launch at the end of June. We're trying to go for around June 26th if they'd be able to have it.
2021, right?
2021. Yes, it's very important that we get years these days. But at the end of June 2021, we're going to try to get the pre-orders out much sooner. The publisher, Warren Publishing, already has it available for pre-order. Always reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's Stephen Weller, and you'll be able to find me there and just look for the Progressive Series author. This is my second book in the Progressive Series, the first one being The Progressive Machine, before we called it Lean. That second edition is coming out at the same time as the Progressive Hospital.
Oh, great. That's great.
We're excited about that as well.
Good. Well, thank you very much again, Stephen, for allowing this time for the conversation. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and wish you all the best. I think it's going to be a very, very nice book for people to read, and much success.
Coming 2021, an educational thriller, a shocking look into surgical services, a malevolent scientist, a global pandemic, a conspiracy, a resilient leader, a courageous follower, a hope, a lean hope. The Progressive Hospital. Look for it now. Also check out The Progressive Machine.